So this size today, this is, well, let's ignore the black border. So we're just going to look at the square itself. This square is 16 inches finished. It is 16 and a half inches unfinished. Unfinished means that it just kind of looks like this. So we didn't get rid of those extra quarter inches around the seams. So now it's 16 inches if I measure from the edge of the block to the edge of the block. This would be 16. The two seams, a quarter on each side, would be the half. So that's what would make it 16 and a half. So the raw part is 16 and a half unfinished. Now that this is in this, it's finished. It was just a little easier to see it in terms of what I'm doing. But I'm making the big one because depending on what you're doing with this, if you're making it, you can do a lot of different things with this. So I use this on the back of a jacket that I made because this was big enough for the panel in the back of the jacket. This also I used to make a mini quilt because this became the focus, and then whatever else I put around the edges became you know, like whatever was secondary going all the way around it. Okay. So we're going to take a look at this, and we're going to take a look at how I did this. So I saw this years ago. I have made a ton of quilts, a little smaller than this when I made it, but this is the biggest one that I've redrafted. So we take a look at what this looks like, and I'm going to turn this sideways just so you can see it. And you will see 1, 2, 3, 4 patches. And this is something that we have talked about since the beginning of January. We talked about breaking things up in your quilt. And your quilt, a lot of times, can be made up of 4 patches, 9 patches, 16 patches, in some case 25 patches, depending on what you're doing. So you can see that this block and this block are similar, and then these two blocks are different. This block itself, if I fold these, the dress is a block all by itself. It's just a regular square. The two that look alike have a rectangle in there. There is one, what looks like a half square triangle, and then there is a piece. It's going to be the same thing on the other side. And then the top is made up of a rectangle, and then we have our 2 squares here. And actually, this is a square, and this is more of a rectangle. So I will show you my drawing just so you can see the construction of it. Let me pull this one out. That's paper. Hey, Joy. The great thing about the block is it could be any flesh tone, any type of dress that you want. So I like to do mine in the Ankara African print. You can absolutely do this in a solid. And of course, your skin tone can be as light or as dark as you would like it to be. Now, we're going to attempt to draw this upside down. Whenever I draw blocks, and this is going to go fast because this is not a tutorial on how to draw this. This is just how I sketch this out, but I'll give you the measurements. I like to use graph paper, but you don't have to. You just have to do some measurements. And I start with a block. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Really, I like mine to do 12 inches. The only thing that I'm not considering in this block right now are my seam allowances. I'll add those on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10, 11, 12. Cool. Okay. So I'm going to start with a block, and this is any block. So when I construct something that I don't have a pattern for, I can draw it out, and then I can follow what I see to mimic it. I know that the body of this is bigger than the head. Okay, so it's a little uneven. And if I have 12, I can make this, let's say 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I can start to construct, and you can see this almost looks like the head right here, right? But we're gonna break this down a little bit more, and then I can construct the head here. Okay, and let me put this down just so that you can see that. So the big body here, and then this is the head here. In this head, I have the face. And again, this is just my rough, because I'm just drawing that out. Okay. So I have that head, I have that body. I haven't worried about measurements yet, but that's why the grid paper is important, because all you have to do is count the blocks. I want her arms to be a little shorter than her head. So depending on where my measurements are, and the great thing about this is that I can draw this out. And if I don't like it, I can just draw it again. So I'm sketching this out. Okay. And now I have made this to look just like, and I would use color if I needed to. But this is the dress and the head wrap. And you can see, so I have the dress. Right now, she's like a flesh tone for white. These are her hands, her face, her hands, and then these big blocks are the background. So easily enough, I could draw it. So this right now is a 12-inch block. I would add my 1/2 inches on to make this a 12.5 unfinished, but I can figure that out how much I have for everything. So I knew 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I know that I have, and I can't write the numbers upside down. So I can figure out now that I need a 7-inch square block here for her dress. Her face, if I count everything, is a 3 by 3. So I can write face and just put 3 by 3. And actually, because I'm going to add a 1/4 inch, I can make it 3 1/4 by 3 1/4. Okay. So I would tell myself this is 3 by 3 here because it's finished. In order to make the block work, I need those 1/4 inch seams all the way around. So it would be 3 by 3 1/4 by 3 1/4. So I would just do the same thing all the way around, measuring everything out to get this to be a 12-inch block by the time I finish. So I could do the rest of the measurements out, but just understand I can draw this out the way that I need it to be drawn out in order to create the final block. So I can do this with any quilt block that I see. I can mimic what the creator has. If there isn't a pattern, at the time there wasn't, but now there are plenty of patterns out here. So you don't have to do the measurements. You don't have to think about what this is. What, right now, what, I did was I figured this out for me to get this. So there was no actual pattern at the time for this one, but I constructed it the way that I needed to. So let's take a look at the individual pieces and let's put one of these together. So in order to put these together, you need something for the dress, you need something for the background, and you need whatever you're going to use for your flesh. And again, you can go dark, you can go light, it's your flesh. So it's totally up to you. If you like, there are some that I've seen where if you're making more than one, because maybe you're making the 12 inches and you're making a bedspread. I have one upstairs that has a ton of them because I use all scraps. And I did different colors for flesh tones because I wanted different colors. Okay. So for this one, I have all of these. And again, I think like for the most part, these are like fat quarters. These are scraps. I need at least this piece to be bigger than, or at least as wide as 9.5 inches for the dress, because that's what I figured out for this particular size that I am making. And I'm just going to bust out some of these wrinkles in here. If your fabric is directional or you care about direction, you will pay attention to the direction that it's going in. This is going to be on point. And if we take a look at this again, if I do the square this way, the way that it should go, notice she's like leaning to the side. On point means that it looks this way. It's on the point. That's what makes it straight. Okay, so the point of her dress is on point. So when you're looking at this, your fabric, if you want it to be directional, has to be going in this direction. Okay. If you have directional fabric. Sometimes, especially with Ankara fabric, it'll be in one direction. And sometimes you're going to look at it and you're like, yeah, I don't see a direction. And I'm okay with whichever way it looks. That's totally up to you. If it is in direction, if I like said that this was a body right here, I would put this on point to capture what I would say is the body. Or I could put it here and capture like this. So if I'm worried about a particular space, I'm not worried about that. So I'm going to use this edge, and I just happen to have a ruler that is 9.5 inches. So we're going to cut this. And we're going to line everything up. And there aren't that many pieces, so usually I pre-cut everything. But because, again, this was drafted, just want to show you what that looks like. Okay, so here is her dress. Okay. So again, I've drawn everything out already, so I'm just looking at those measurements. I need 2 sleeves for her dress and her head wrap. And I'll show you my beaten up one here. Here and here, this is 2 pieces for her head wrap, and then her 2 sleeves are here and here. Okay. So for the sleeve, I told myself I need 4.5 by 3.5. I need 3 of those, and I need 1 3.5 by 7.5. And this is like the one time, right, that I really need to make sure that I am paying attention to my measurements, because, yeah, we don't want to cut these more than once. So measure twice, cut once. This is all going to be scrap, so we will work it out as best as we can with the scraps. Take off that edge. Okay, and we said 4.5 by 3.5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4.5. So that's 1. 1, 2, 3, 4.5. That's 2. This one I can use for something else, so I will set that aside. Two. 1, 2, 3.5. Set that out the side. I have 1, 2, 3. 3.5 by 7.5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Too many. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We'll make sure our measurements are where they're supposed to be. Okay. And I pray that I thought about that correctly, because sometimes I don't. 1, 2, 3, 4.5, right? Yep. Okay. So I need 3 pieces. This is the sleeve and part of the head wrap. This is the other part of the head wrap. And you can see it like that. Okay. So those pieces are cut. So the sleeves are cut, the dress is cut, the head wrap is cut. Those are done. Now I already have a face cut out, but I'm gonna just cut one and cut these pieces. So again, according to my directions for my face and my hands, it says that I need 4.5 and a 3.5. 2 3.5s for each of the hands and a 4.5 for the face. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and cut this at 4.5 and then just trim down to the 2 3s. Oh, 1, 2, 3. Okay, again, 1, 2, 3, 4, cut twice. I mean, measure twice, cut once. When I make a lot of things that have color in them for flesh tone, I will buy the flesh tone whenever I see it, and then I keep it for my patterns. So this is 4.5. 1, 2, 3, 4. Come down. We can get it there. And a half. Okay. So the face is done there. This has been sitting for a minute, so it has just a little slight crease in it. Let me just knock that crease out. We're gonna fold this in half. Use my ruler to get my 3.5 And I just want it a little bit bigger than 3.5 because I'm going to size this up or size this down. Okay, get those two pieces out. Let's flip this around. And we'll do the other 3.5. 3.5. 3.5. Okay. So the face is done and the hands. And last but not least, we need the background. Your background can be any color that you want to be. Usually, depending on what I'm making, my backgrounds are usually white, off-white, gray, or blue, like a sky blue. But your backgrounds can be like the one I did for mine upstairs. A lot of them are yellow because I decided to use a yellow background, but you can pick it. Usually you don't want the background to fight against the fabric. So since the fabric looks like this, I could pick like an orange, or I could pick a red out of this. I could pick black. I could pick the yellow out of here in terms of the background if that's what I choose to use. If I'm using very different colors, let's say I'm going to use a blue next or red, then I may choose to keep it more neutral, like the whites, the grays, or the blues. But that's totally up to you. But I want something that's going to contrast. I don't want something that is going to fight against this. So I don't want, unless it reads like a solid. That means that the two colors are close enough that it looks solid. Usually I'm not going to use a print. Okay. So again, according to what I sketched out for this, my background I need 2 each for these two because these are going to be the same. I need a 4.5 by 9.5. That's this. And a 5.5 by 3.5. Okay, so I'm using a scrap, just trying to figure out like where the best place is for this cut. I am going to do 4.5 by 9.5, and I'm going to square up both. So I just need to figure out 4.5. 1, 2, 3, 4. I don't want to waste too much fabric. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, and I have 2 ends that I need to worry about. I said 4.5 by 9.5, and again, I am measuring more than once because we measure twice, cut once. Because if you mess it up, then you need to cut 2 more pieces. Oh, we're not trying to do that if we can help it. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. Knew that didn't come all off. And then I didn't do this end. So I am looking for my 9.5. I'm looking for my 4.5. I'm using the ruler. I'm not using the table. The mat. I could use either or. And we'll cut off that in there. Okay. So we have this piece here. Okay. And we could use that for something. We don't throw anything away if we can help it. And then we need 2 5.5 by 3.5, and then we're ready to put this together. Let's see, that's 11. Okay, we can work that. Just gonna fold that in half. I try to use minimal waste if I can help it. These are halves along here on my ruler. So 1, 2, 3. And we're just gonna, again, we're gonna square this up. This can go into my pile. Okay, so we have 5.5 by 3.5. And again, this is one that I put together so I can shout out the measurements all I want, because this is not somebody's pattern. It was someone's idea, but this isn't their pattern. 1, 2, 3, 3.5. And I said by 5.5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, we got just enough, but I'm gonna slide this over just a little bit. Beans there. Let's turn them around, and we're gonna get that last good cut. 3.5 by 5.5. And I think that's 6, but I'm gonna count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yep. Let's go down to 4. I do want to take my time on this part because everything else goes together really easy. Check my measurements. 5.5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is the half. 1, 2, 3. That's the half. 1, 2. Okay. So I have the dress. I have her face. I have what's going to be her crown. I have her arms. Those are the backgrounds. Did I do that right? No, I did not. These are the background. That's the background for her hands. And then these will, hey, how are you doing, Armina? And then these will be the hands when I do the half square triangle. So I have all my pieces together. I have everything I need, okay? So we have 2 half square triangles, everything together else is going to go together as a unit. Remember, her dress is a unit. Her arms are a unit with these, because there's going to be 2 of these, and then her head. So let's do her head first. We'll do these last. Well, second, because the dress is already done. Okay. So in order to put this together, we're going to start with these 2 pieces first. We're going to stitch these together and then stitch this to the top. So I'm going to flip these 2. Take them to my machine. And I want to tell you, this fabric, even though I've used it before, I don't think that I remember purchasing this. I want to say either somebody gifted it to me or it came with some scraps. I don't remember purchasing it, but then, yeah, I buy a whole lot of stuff that I don't remember purchasing. Okay, so those 2 pieces go together like that. You can open up your seams if you choose, press on the one side. I can finger press those if I choose. Okay, I'm gonna lay that back out so you can see it. And then I'm gonna lay this piece onto this piece. And take that back to my machine. Make sure that I pay attention to those seam allowances because I opened them up. I do want to make sure that my foot is not pressing those seam allowances back on themselves. So I'm just going to lift that up slightly. Make sure they're nice and flat. You're gonna be like, and I've made these so many times, right? You're gonna be like, this went together quick. Yes, it did. It will open this up because I've made them, like I said, in all different sizes. I've made them for table runners. I've made them for bed quilts. Just going to give that a good knock out that press a little bit. I've made them, they're on the back of a jacket. I took what I consider to be an orphan block. It's just one block by itself. I made them for a mini quilt. Okay, so that's pressed there. And then her head and her head wrap are done. So her dress is done, her head and her head wrap are done. Now let's tackle these arms. The only difference here is that you want to make sure her hands mirror the opposite way. Otherwise, you'll have two hands going in the same direction. Not the end of the world, but not necessarily what we want either. Okay, so I'm just laying these on top of each other. Make sure I have right sides up so I know what I'm looking at. And then these are the two pieces that go here. Okay, so you can see the construction. Great job using a white mat with a white print, because that really makes it a little hard to see. Okay, so we have the two pieces that we need for the hands. We have the sleeve of the dress, and we have the rest of the background. So this one right now goes over to the side because we're working on these. Before we make the sleeve and the hands are going with the background. We need to figure out the hands in the background. Okay. I am going to take my background, pay attention to this. They're both right sides up. Let me move the sleeve out the way. This triangle, I am either going to fold it in half, if I'm good with this, and I can finger crease this to get a center mark on a diagonal, right, like that. Okay. If I need to mark it with a pencil, I could do that as well. Right sides together. And I'm going to stitch right on that fold. Now this is the one time that, because of the way I'm doing it, I could have laid them both out, but I'm just going to double check, because to ask me how many times I would mess this up. Okay. So right on that center line, let me fold this one in half. And I say in half, it's not even, it's like on the diagonal more than a half. It's still a half, but it's not in half to make it a rectangle. It's half to make it a triangle. Okay. And I want to lay that on there. And I know you can't see it right now, but this one's going this way and this one's going that way. That way I know I have opposites. Okay, so we have that. We're going to open that up and we can press those open. And they should be going in opposite directions. And again, that's key because the hands are going in opposite directions for the final block. So I'm going to give this a good press, just so that lays nice and flat. And we're going to press the other one. Good evening. How are you doing, Denise? Okay, good. Nice and pressed. Okay. Always time to check, right? Because if you're going to mess up, you want to do that before you cut. So all I did was press. I haven't cut anything yet. And I'm going to show you, some people do it this way, and it's up to you. So some people will put the hands that way, but you'll see opposite ways give you those matching hands. So it's almost like her arm, like she's like this, right? So you could almost say she has like a short sleeve on, and then these are her arms just going down on the outside of her dress. Maybe they're in her pocket. Or you can do it like that. And again, like it could be, you know, like cutesy. So it's up to you which way you want it. Usually I go this way, but there's nothing wrong with going this way. Awesome. So it's up to you. You're going to make that decision which way you want to go. But the good thing is that I don't have one going this way and one going that way because that would look funny. So since these are good, I'm going to open this back up and I'm just going to cut that excess off. I'm cutting almost a 1/4 inch. And I say almost because I'm not measuring, but I'm trying to at least leave a 1/4 inch seam allowance. It's more probably like a half looking at what I'm doing, but that's fine. Okay, let me move this again. So the arms look like this. You're gonna make a decision over which way you want the hands to go. Let's flip it up for once. Let's go in. Something new for me. Okay, let me pull these out. So these two need to be stitched together. Take those two. And we'll take them to the machine. And again, what I like about laying everything out is that I can see it. I'm not trusting my total instinct to say, okay, you did this right, because that's what a seam ripper is for, but that's why we seam rip, because we think we're doing it right and we didn't. And the great thing about this one is, this is from beginning to end, including the cutting. So before, usually I come to the table, everything cut, but I wanted to go through everything that there was. And like I said, it's only the block, so we can absolutely finish this block. And if I wasn't talking and showing things, this would take under an hour to do. And we would have a 16-inch block that we could turn into like a square with a couple more steps and be finished. Okay, I'm just going to finger press those and then just take them to the iron and give it just one good knockout press just to hold it in place. And again, there's a difference between ironing and pressing. Ironing, you're moving your iron around the fabric. Pressing, you're just holding it in place. Just to kind of help those seams be flat. Your fabric itself might pop back up, but your seam should be flat. Okay. So again, we have these two pieces. Right sides up for these. And these are going to go on the outsides of these. I can pull those back apart now. And again, I'm still not married at this point. If I don't want to commit to this, I can still do that. But let's commit. So I'm committing to this right now. Right sides together. Boom, boom. Boom, boom. These are the last two blocks before we construct the whole thing. The great thing about this is that there aren't a lot of seams that we're matching up. So it's not a whole lot of precision right about now. So we're only matching up end to end. We're not worried about measuring up. We're not worried about measuring up seams. These two go together. And that's one of the benefits here, because when you have to line everything up and clip it and all that other fun stuff, this takes the guessing out of it. So this really does make it, it's a fun block, but it's also an easy block. And the great thing is that it can be made at any size depending on what you're doing. And you can make several different sizes if that's what you choose to do. So you can have the queen and her princesses all the way around. Okay. And again, I can either open those seams, press them to one side if I'm using a white background. So if I'm pressing it to one side, that means this white is going to show up along the side. Now it's going to still show up in here anyway. The seam is going to show up on one side or the other. So just commit to a way. And let's press that down. Okay, that's one. And that's two. And hopefully you've been able to see like the block the whole way, because I've been laying it out as we've been going so that you can see it. So again, here are my 4 pieces. Okay. So I have all my pieces, and this is what the final block is going to look like. 1, 2, 3, 4. It's a 4-patch, but the 4-patch is different from traditional 4-patches because they're not all the same size. So I don't have 4 squares. I have 2 squares. This one is much bigger than this one, and then these 2 are rectangles, but they still work together as a 4-patch, meaning that, remember, when we did the 4-patch, we took this side and flipped this here, this side and flip this here, stitch, and then we open that up, press it, and we'll stitch this way. Okay. So we're using those same concepts, even though the patches look a little bit different. And again, I've used this, so you can use this in a quilt. It could be a single lady. All the single ladies? No. It could be a single queen or a single lady. It can also be multiples. Or it could be, and that means you could do something like a quilt. You could do, like I said, I used a patch on the back of a jacket that I made. Imagine this on the front of a bag if you're a bag person. So you could make a tote. Okay. So we left the chain in there for that. And if we open this back up, so still that same concept. Let's do some pressing. If I press these, I can press this towards this square, unless you want to press open. So I can press this way, and I can absolutely press all of these seams toward her face or head. That way I don't see the darkness in the white. And it's going to help me to nest it. So I'm pressing the seams this way for this. I'm pressing the seam that way for that. Thank you, thank you, thank you for 10,000 likes. Thank you for tapping the screen. Okay, so that's one. And we're going to press that towards her head. Again, if you are team press open, that is totally up to you. There are benefits to pressing open, and there are benefits to pressing to one side. I'm going to use 2 of these. Okay. This is the one time that I'm going to have to match the seams up. So let me see. Right here under her head and right here at the body. And this should line right up. So I'm going to just use my finger and get them locked in, and I'm going to clip. I don't even need more than one clip. I only need one. Got some trash. Oh, that fell on the floor. I'll pick that up. Okay. And we are going to line this edge up, and we're going to do that final stitch. Take the time, make sure everything, all of the seams on the bottom are going in the direction I want them to go in. Line everything up down here. I don't know why it's like pulling for some reason on my machine. I don't know what that's doing, what that's about. What is the name of the vlog? So this is a African queen, a lady. So she has the head wrap, and then she has the dress. But again, this could be, instead of a head wrap, this could be hair. So I could have used any color: gray, black, brown, blonde. That's totally up to you. Redhead. So this could be her hair instead of her, instead of a head wrap or a crown. Okay. Oops. Let's flip this over, and we're going to press this. Thank you. And so again, like, you can go on to Etsy, you could find a pattern. The great thing about the pattern is that unless you're doing scraps, the pattern will give you the measurements of all of the fabrics that you need. So it will tell you if you need, like, overall, if you're doing more than one, do you need a yard to do 7 of these, a yard and a half. So I'm not giving you those directions because this is just for the single block. So these were just scraps that I had. And I'm just pressing out, and I could, like, I've had this white in my stash for so long, it don't matter how many times I put a iron on that wrinkle is not coming out. It is like, no ma'am. Did I get it? A little bit of steam will get it at the end. But that was just driving me bananas that it wouldn't go. Okay. Cool. slide that over. And there we go. You have the final block. So again, this is a 16-inch block by 16 inches. So this is a 16 and a half inch unfinished block. So I have not put this into a project yet. If I am going to use this for my coat, I may do some other things with it. If I am going to attach this to another queen, let's say we're making a quilt, I can lay those side by side and they'll be together. Again, the backgrounds will be the same, but the dresses could be different. The hands on this one are going down. The hands on this one are going open. I can make that decision. I can decide to flip the order so I can mirror each other. I could do this as a table runner, do it all the way across. These are laying like on the sides just about if you want, but again, that's totally up to you how you want this to look. But right now I have it this way. If I do it on point, they're all going to be sitting up like that. And then I'll have another square in here. Okay. Or well, actually it'll be a triangle depending on how big I'm going to make that. So I'm going to make some decisions about what I want to do with the block. This one is 16 inches finished because the edges are done. So the raw edges are enclosed in the seams around this border. So I've added a border to this. I'm going to add some more sides to this in order to build this out to be what I want it to be. Because I think I'm going to let this stand alone as is. Keyword is think, right? So for this one, I made a decision about a border. You're going to commit to a border because this is freestyling this or you making some decisions about what you want. I decided to go with a traditional 2.5 inch border. So I cut my black to be 2.5 inches. When I measure this, and let me not do it with this one. If I were adding a border on this one, I would measure this on my mat, or I would use my ruler. This is 16.5 inches. So the first two pieces are going to be 2.5 by 16.5. And they're going to go on this side. I'm going to press everything open once I stitch it. I have 2.5 on this side. I took off a 1/4 inch seam. And I took off a 1/4 inch seam on this side of the black, and I took a 1/4 inch seam off of the queen itself. So 1/4 inch and a 1/4 inch is a half on this side, half on this side. So it's an inch. So 16.5 plus 2 of these at 2.5. So 2.5 plus 2.5 is 5. 5 plus 16.5 is 21.5. And if I take off that seam allowance, that inch, that's 20.5. So when I measure this with this 2.5 inch border, this should be 20.5, which it is. So I can build this out depending on what I'm doing to determine how big I want this and what I want. So right now, this is a 20.5 inch block. Depending on what I want this to look like, I can add corners on here so that I could have one big block. So I can make a decision about what I want those corners to be. Do I want to continue with the black? Do I want to continue with the white? Do I want to pick up some other sort of Ankara in here, like either the same or different, to build that out? So I can make some decisions on what I want to do there. But right now I have my finished now 2 blocks. And I probably have like somewhere around here, I know I have like 2 more blue blocks. So I have 4 blocks altogether to make a decision on what I want that to look like and determine where I'm going from there. But this is a quick and easy block. So you figure I started, if I recap, I started at about 9:01. So it's now 10:01. We we took this. Okay, my book slid over here a little bit. So we took this block, we looked at it. We drew a picture. This is a smaller block, so this could be the 8.5, and actually I could make this. This would be the 12.5-inch block. We drew everything out. I would have to just do some math to think about what that looks like. And I did write the wrong number down here if somebody was following me. So let me fix the number. Did I draw? Oh, I see it. I'm like, did I lose that pen? Okay. Let me change that. I was like, something doesn't look right. This is 3.5. Because you're taking a 1/4 inch off each side. So 1/4 and 1/4 is 1/2. So her face is 3.5. And you would need one of those. Her hands, we could figure out the measurements for those. We figured out her dress right here is 7 inches. We figured her face was 3. You have 2 on this side, and I'm just using the grid to help me think about the numbers as I'm figuring that out, so I can figure out what this would look like in a smaller version just based off of what I drew. It's the same picture. This one is just a 12-inch block, 12.5-inch block, instead of a 16-inch block. So I can absolutely make this smaller and then use this for something else. So you can make it whatever size you like. If you want to finish it at 8 inches, you can finish it at 8 inches. But you use your graph paper. So again, I would have the graph paper. I would draw it out. If little pieces don't work for you, then, is that upside down? You can draw it out big way. There we go. So I drew this one out. This is this one here. So I drew this out. These are all of the finished measurements just about. So I know that I need a 9-inch block. What am I adding to this? A 1/2 inch. That's going to count for the seam allowances. What was the headpiece measurement? The headpiece measurement, let me go up here and look at it and make sure I tell you right. So the wrap was 4.5 by 3.5 and 7.5 by 3.5. No problem. No problem at all. Yvonne, I knew you were coming for it. But again, like this gives me my 16. So I can do the measurements for a 12.5. I can do the measurements for 8. That would give me this. Now, will you see some people who will draw the arms and they'll be thinner? Absolutely. So there are some people that will make the arms a little bit thinner. And if you like that look, then you would just reduce the width of the arms and you would increase the background. But that's up to you. I personally like mine this way, so this is the way that I've left it, but that's up to you. You could also make the head wrap much thinner if you choose, and then her head would be bigger. Again, that's up to you. For me, proportionally, this worked. And so I like this. And again, this is a technique that I got from one of my quilting classes. So I went to a quilting class. It was an open sew. And I was like, look, I want, and like I said, this was like 2012, probably 2012. 2012, no, maybe before that. This may have been like 2008, like 2008. I went to the class and I said, I want to recreate this block. And so my quilt instructor at the time showed me how to pull these apart, looking at these, and then how to construct them back again together. So again, this piece here, this is a 9.5-inch square, but that's for the 16-inch block. So you have your 9.5 here. We made this, the face was 4.5. This is an oblong piece. These two, you needed this one, and this one. These are 1, 2, 3. These are all the same size for me. So the 2 sleeves and part of the head wrap. So I needed 3 of these. 3.5 by 4.5. Did I still make sure I'm saying that right? Not that, you know, if you DM me, I can't send you the measurements, right? So again, this is me. This is not something that I purchased, so I can send it to you. But the dress is 9.5 by 9.5. So this is square. The sleeves are 4.5 by 3.5. You need 1, 2, 3. This is the wrap is 4.5 by 3.5 and 7.5 by 3.5. Okay, so the longer piece is 7.5 by 3.5. We did the sleeves already, so the hands we did at 3.5 by 3.5. So we need 2 of those. We did the background. This one is 3.5 by 5.5. So we need 2 of these. And then this one here is 4.5 by 5.5, and we need 2 of those. Okay. And then, like I said, I constructed the head. The dress was already done. So we made then the head second. And that was by putting the face with the shorter part of the wrap and then attaching the longer part of the wrap to it to give us the face and the head wrap. That meant this was together and this was already together. Then we constructed these 2 parts. We looked at the harder part to put together, which is here. We started with the background and the hands. We folded the hands. You could mark a line from corner to corner on a diagonal. That would give you this part of the hand. We cut off the excess and then we press those open. That gave us just this unit right here. Okay, we attached the sleeve to that and we committed to whether we wanted her hands to go like this or whether we wanted her hands to go like this. Once we committed to which way we wanted them to go, we stitched this whole unit together. So that's the unit, just that part. Once this whole unit here was put together, we then attached the other part of the background out here to finish this block off. That gave us this block and this block. From there, we treated it like a 4-patch. We had 1, 2, 3, 4 blocks. We took 2 of them, flipped them over, right sides together, and did a stitch for both. Press those open. I pressed the seams toward the face and toward the dress, folded them over, locked them in right here. I did 1 clip there just to make sure that they stayed aligned, and then stitch this whole thing, press it open, and this is what gives us the final block. Okay, and then you have your block. And like I said, from there, you're making as many blocks as you need for your units. So you'll make a decision. You can again lay out your blocks. So you're going to make some decisions. And you can lay out, like you could use a smaller, I want to mess up that one because I'm going to use that. So I'm going to put out the measurements on there because I'll probably use it. That's what happens when you don't save your scrap paper. What I can do is imagine that each one of these are 16.5-inch blocks. And it doesn't matter whether they are 9s. It doesn't matter if they are 4s, right? I can do that measurement. I know that these are going to be 16 in here. Because remember, I'm going to lose a 1/4 inch on either side. I'm still going to have it out here, but I'm just going to treat it like they're 16 because I might add a border. So 16 and 16 is 32. This is 64. So if I put them side by side where they have the gangster lean like that, then I need at least 4 across to make it 64. I'm going to need another one to get to 80. Okay, so I can figure out how many I need with the gangster lean like that. If I'm going to put them on point, then I need to figure out what they look like, and that's going to look a little different because then I would have a staggered look. And this is just me sketching this out because you're going to have corner triangles that are going to be in there to give you that final look. But you can put your, okay. So I'm going to build this out to be whatever I need this to be built out to. Okay. And so I'll figure that out like however I want it, right? And then I will draw a line. And this is me just kind of freestyling this right now, but I'm going to draw the line going all the way across because I'm going to have some other measurements that are going to come in, but that's for a different day. But just so you could see the vision. Okay. And we won't talk about the fact that it's not 100% correct. But what happens is if they're on point, they look like that, right? This is what your final one has to look like. If I can tilt it, right? So all these are on point like this is right now. And you're going to have like these little border pieces, these triangles that we would have to do measurements for. So you're going to have those corner triangles, 1, 2, 3, 4. These are going to look alike. And then you're going to have these two here, these two here, this one here, and this one here. And that's just a little different of a measurement, but you can, you know, we can make that work. That's a different video for a different day. But I can have these here, and I would just edge them out with this, and then I would need to know 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. So I'd have 17 blocks in here. And remember, each one of these is 16, depending on whatever the finished size of the quilt is going to be for you. So each one of those is 16, if that's what I'm going for, because, you know, 16 is a good big size block. We know that the length, the hypotenuse, if you're a math person, is from here to here, which is going to be the longer size. So we're not doing the math. In theory, from here to here would be just about, let's commit to 23 inches. We're going to commit to 23. It's a little bigger, right? So let's say it's 23. So in here, if I go across, it would be from here to here to here. That's 1, 2, 3 23s, which is 69. So this is almost 69 inches across. And then the longest one here, there's 4 23s there. And that's just, you know, me looking at the math because I don't feel like thinking that hard, which would be 92. So this would be almost 69 by 92. And that's before borders or anything else. But just to give myself an idea from point to point to point, what that would be, and then from the point to point to point this way. So this would almost be a twin size, almost a little bit bigger, like in between a twin and a queen. You could get rid of a row and make it a little bit shorter, but you could absolutely get away with that number of blocks, putting it on point to make an actual quilt. If that's what you wanted to do. So you would play around with the numbers and lay it out. But you can see that all I'm doing is just taking everything, laying it out the way I want, and then doing the measurements just to see what it would be as I lay it out. That's why we buy patterns, because people will give us this part. But the real thinking is in here to how many blocks do you need? How wide is the quilt? The border. They're thinking out the math for how much fabric you're going to use for the quilt. They're doing all that work. So you're paying them to do the thinking for you. So, you know, like I said, I could figure it out. I'm not going to do that today, but typically what I do anyway when I do this is I will take all of my scraps. So these are all of the scraps from dresses and different things that I've made. I will take all of the scraps. I will buy like 2 yards, if you will, of the background fabric, or I'll have it in my stash, and then I will make the blocks. And then how many ever it makes, that's the size quilt that I'm making. So that's what I tend to do just to get rid of the scraps. So this is one of the favorites that I have for getting rid of my Ankara scraps, because it'll get rid of the big pieces. It'll get rid of some of the small pieces. Okay. So hopefully this was like a math lesson. This was a construction lesson, but this is everything together for you this evening. So hopefully you found this informative. Like I said, we kept this really short today. Didn't really take us too long to do the block and then to talk about, like I said, the construction of the block, how you draw the block and put the block together, actually sewing the block together, and then some ideas for what you would do once you finish the block. This is totally up to you from there. Hey, Lavette, how are you? So I will, of course, be uploading this to my YT so that it will be there. Anybody who wants to capture this will be able to go there. You'll be able to see the measurements. You absolutely can DM me. I will send you the measurements so that you have those as well if you would like them. If you want to do a sew along, I can do a sew along with you. If you want to put these together, we can absolutely do that as well. But like I said, your main 3 things that you're going to need is find the background fabric that you're going to use. Try to pick something that is not going to fight against this unless you're using something plain. So if you are doing, let's say, a sorority and Delta, and you want to make them red, you absolutely could take their red and white colors. You could use your different red fabrics and make a bunch of red queens with white backgrounds. You could, if you were doing, let's say, AKA, you could do a lot of pink and greens. And so she could either have a green head wrap or red dress. She could have all pink dresses on some and all green dresses on the other. So you can make this as scrappy or as planned as you would like it to make, depending on what you're working on. So this is totally up to you to decide what that looks like. Like I said, I like to get rid of my Ankara fabric. Some people have other prints that they like to get rid of. This by no means are you committed to making this a brown skin girl. This absolutely can be any color flesh that you prefer. So she can be light skin, she could be white, she could be Asian, she could be dark skin. That's totally up to you. And you can change the flesh tones throughout. So you find the flesh tone that works for you. Elphaba, she could be green. So that's totally up to you what you want to do for it. And like I said, you can alter the measurements any way that you see fit to make a thinner crown. If you prefer, like I said, we moved the arms in this time. So those things are totally up to you. So thank you again. It is 10:21 on a Tuesday evening. And some of us are going to go back to getting ready for work tomorrow. Thank you, Shamir. So if, like I said, if you have any questions you want to DM me, please DM me. We'll share the information, or as I would prefer, you could go to YouTube, G Hill Designs, and you can, add the link is in my bio. You can absolutely go there and you can pick up the information for the measurements if you need it from there. Maybe I'll actually put them into a Google Doc, and I will have the Google Doc there too. We'll see. So thank you again, everyone, for joining me. Next week, hopefully, fingers crossed, I should be working on a quilt. RV, have a good one. Have a good evening, everybody. Thank you again. I'm sorry. Thank you again for tapping the screen. Thank you again for the gifts, for the roses. Thank you for anything that you did to contribute to the live. I truly appreciate everyone. Have a good evening.